What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I've got a Cold War multiplayer video for you guys. I know it's been a lot of Warzone lately on the channel, but I got a multiplayer video for you. And one of the big questions I've been getting asked lately is, what's the new meta? What are the best guns to be using right now in Cold War's multiplayer? So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing what I consider to be the top 5 current best guns to be using in Cold War's multiplayer. And this list is going to be very subjective. I'm sure a lot of you guys will disagree, or there's going to be a gun that you think should be on the list, and I think this is a good thing. I think this is a sign of relatively good balance. And in my opinion, the current state of weapon balance is actually quite good in multiplayer, with a few little exceptions here or there. So without further ado, let's just hop right into the list, and starting it off with number 5, we've got the AUG. Now, many of you will probably remember at the beginning of this game's life cycle, the M16 and the AUG basically just dominated multiplayer. They were way more powerful than a lot of other things, and while they've both received some noticeable nerfs over the months, the AUG is still a very solid choice to be using. I actually hadn't touched it for a really long time because in multiplayer at least I try to stay away from just constantly using the meta guns, so I hadn't touched it in a long time, but I decided to try it out again on stream to see how it felt in the game's current state. And I actually ended up getting a nuke that game that I tried it, so the AUG is still definitely on top. I would say much more so than the M16 because the M16's range got basically destroyed with a few of the nerfs. And for anybody interested in the setup that I was using in this video, I was using the Cobra Red Dot just to get a little bit of extra zoom compared to the other red dots, the Agency Silencer so we stay off the radar and get a little bit of vertical recoil control, which is nice. For our barrel, we're using the Titanium barrel. Then for our underbarrel, we've got the Field Agent foregrip to get a nice tight grouping within each burst, and then finally the Airborne Elastic Wrap, so we get a pretty snappy aim down sight time. Now with this setup, the bullet velocity isn't great, but that's fine. This is more of a mid-range powerhouse in my opinion that can be used at longer ranges. You just have to account for that bullet velocity a bit. And overall, just like when the game first launched, the AUG is still an extremely solid choice, and definitely a top tier gun. Next up, let's move into number 4, and this is the AK-74U. This SMG has always been great. It's always been one of my favorite SMGs to use. It's just nice and consistent and reliable. And even though it has an incredible time to kill potential up close, that maximum damage range is only about 7 meters. So that is the big downside to using this. But if you do get within 7 meters, you're going to be dominating most guns in the game. There are very few guns that will challenge you. And then even if you drop off to the second damage range, this gun is still fairly easy to control even after the recoil nerfs, and it's still very competitive at mid-range. So this is why the 74U is still one of my favorite guns to use in the game, and hopping into the setup that I like using, we've got the standard suppressor, the VDV reinforced barrel to help a little bit with our range, but also for our bullet velocity. We've got the Spetsnaz grip to give us the best recoil control possible, the 40-round speed mag, just because I don't want to hurt our aim down sight speed too much, but I do like having a bit of an extra magazine capacity and a fast reload. And then finally, we've got the GRU Elastic Wrap to get a nice solid aim down sight time with this. This is a great versatile SMG that absolutely decimates up close and holds its own at mid-range. Then after that, let's get into number 3 on my list. This is the other AK. We've got the AK-47. This gun hasn't really changed since launch. This gun has always been that amazing, versatile gun that can do it all. It's got the best time to kill potential out of all of the assault rifles for body shots, which is great. Our range potential by just using the VDV reinforced barrel is amazing because you literally double your range. So that means in almost any situation you'll ever encounter in regular multiplayer, this gun is just a consistent 4-shot kill to the body. And with that 4-shot kill, you get a ridiculous time to kill potential. And on top of this, it's got decent enough handling stats. So, like I said, you can sort of do it all with this gun. It holds its own up close against SMGs just fine, even though SMGs technically have a bit of an advantage. But to top that off, it's incredible at mid-range. I think this is where it really excels, and it's very usable at really long ranges too. Quite simply, there is no situation I can think of where this is a bad gun. It might not be the best in every situation, but it's good at everything. And with this one, my class setup hasn't changed at all. We've got the standard suppressor, the VDV reinforced barrel, which like I said, it literally doubles your damage range. So you get like a 70-meter damage range, which is insane. Then we've got the Spetsnaz grip to help give us the best recoil pattern possible. The 40-round speed mag, same explanation as with the AK-74U. I don't want to hurt my aim down sight time too much, but I do like having a boosted magazine capacity and a faster reload. And then finally the GRU Elastic Wrap, so we get a decent aim down sight time. With this setup right here, this is the one I'd recommend to any new players out there. It's the easiest gun to just pick up and do well with in basically any situation. Next up, getting into number 2 on my list, this is the Stoner. I don't think this will be a surprise to anybody that this one made the list. The Stoner is incredibly accurate and easy to control. It's got an amazing damage range. Its time to kill potential is insane, especially considering its range. You can put people down very, very quickly. So this is incredible as an LMG for locking down lanes and pre-aiming things. However, it also holds its own just fine in close quarters in its current state. Since this gun has such a high fire rates and it has SMG level hipfire, even if an SMG player manages to close the distance and get within the same room as me and I'm not pre-aimed on them, I've still got a very good chance in that gunfight because I can just hipfire spray them down. And it's this versatility that puts the Stoner so high up on my lists. In fact, this is one of the few guns in the game where I would actually like to see a nerf to this. I think most of the weapon balance is good, but when it comes to the Stoner, it's simply too good up close, considering the fact that it also absolutely shreds everything at long ranges. In my opinion, if it were up to me, I would say they should either increase that hipfire spread to reduce its effectiveness at close range without harming it at long ranges, which is where LMG should be excelling, or just add more recoil to it so it's still a very versatile LMG without it being the best LMG for all situations, because as of right now, it is pretty much the best LMG at long range as well as close range. In either case, let's have a look at an example class setup that I would use for the Stoner. We've got the Agency Suppressor on here, the Task Force Barrel, that is absolutely the key to this gun. You definitely want the Task Force Barrel on there. Then we've got the Field Agent Grip, the standard fast mag, so we don't hurt our aim down sight time at all, because that is one big downside with the LMGs. Their aim down sight time is very slow. However, with the Airborne Elastic Wrap, we get a massive improvement to our aim down sight time. So that's number 2 on my list, and before we get into number 1, I want to give an honorable mention, or kind of a dishonorable mention, to the Street Sweeper shotgun. If I am talking about what the best guns are currently, the Street Sweeper is a bit of a standout because with its Task Force barrel, we're currently getting a ridiculous one-shot kill potential that's actually equal to the one-shot kill potential of the pump action shotgun when the Street Sweeper is a full auto. So I don't think it should have a decent one-shot kill potential at all, even if you are using the damage boosting barrel. And I have said this before, I don't believe this was intentional. I think this was an oversight and it's not meant to be like this. And I do hope it gets a nerf in this area so it gets more in line with where it should be, more like where the Gallo is when it comes to using the Task Force barrel. But at least at the time of recording this video, that still hasn't been fixed, and therefore I did want to give a mention to the Street Sweeper because it is just incredibly powerful as long as you're using the V-Choke as well as the Task Force barrel. But finally, let's get into number 1 on my list. This is the KSP. I really like the KSP-45. I liked it before it got its recent buffs, and for whatever reason they decided to buff it and make it so the burst delay was even smaller. So now that one downside that the KSP used to have, which is it's not quite as forgiving as a full auto SMG, that's kind of gone out the window because there's basically no burst delay anymore with this gun. And when you have a look at its time to kill potential, in the maximum damage range, if you get a 1 burst kill where you hit all 3 bullets to the body, your time to kill potential is roughly half the time to kill of the assault rifles in the game. So when it comes to close quarter situations, the KSP just reigns supreme. It's nice and consistent, has incredible power potential, and it's also fairly usable out to medium range. Now, the one thing with the KSP is it's not the greatest at really long ranges, and that's fine. You can typically play with almost any 6v6 map in this game. You can always find a way to put yourself in a position where you're dominating with the KSP. And this is why, at least for me as a more aggressive player, somebody that likes getting up close and personal and flanking the enemy, I love the KSP, and I think it's currently my favorite gun in the game. Even though I've been trying to use as much variety as possible, I find myself often going to the KSP if I end up in a situation where I need to make a comeback. And the class setup I'll often go to here is with the Agency Suppressor, the Reinforced Heavy Barrel, the 5mW laser, because this thing is ridiculous at hip firing up close, the Field Agent Foregrip to get that maximum accuracy so I can stretch the range out a bit with it, and then finally the Airborne Elastic Wrap so I can be super snappy with my aim down sight time. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for my personal top 5 for Cold War multiplayer. Like I said at the beginning, there's a good chance for a lot of you that your favorite gun isn't even on this list. And I actually had quite a hard time narrowing it down to just 5 guns, which, like I said at the beginning of the video, that's a really good sign. Even though I consider these 5 to be the best, I can easily go outside of these 5 guns and still perform very well against these 5 guns. So yeah, if you didn't see your gun on this list, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad gun. There are plenty of great guns to use in Cold War's multiplayer. Of course, I'd like to hear from you guys in the comment section below. What are your favorite guns to use in Cold War multiplayer's current state? Are they a lot of the same guns that I had on my list, or do you have a completely different list than I do? Just let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.